She's laughing at. All right, Jeff, you wanna Father G, you ready?
Do you want me to open in prayer?
No. Yeah, all right, you can. I was gonna ask Jeff, but you can, and then Jeff can give us the rundown on this on where we're gonna go with this. We may be on here for a while. Just remind me to hit this button right here. Come on, Father G, you got the floor. Why you good? You good, right? Okay, maybe I gotta make somebody. Was he doing yard work? Come on, Father G.
Well, I'm doing yard work, but I'll stop for a little prayer. Heavenly Father, thank you for bringing us together to discuss issues of the heart, spirit, mind. Help us to understand the world we live in the message that you give us. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Y'all got to get used. When we going live, we like praying. We talk that talk, but we like to pray. Open and close in prayer. Sometimes we just let it go in a certain direction. All right, everybody that's here, we glad to have y'all here. I'm gonna try to keep an eye right down there. Y'all gonna introduce yourselves. I think y'all know most of them. Hello. All right, I think y'all know that lady over there. She done been in a few videos, and this brother right here, but I'm gonna let her introduce herself anyway.
Oh, hello, I'm Sister E.
The guy that just spoke, that was Father G. We call him Father G. He out doing the yard work, so I don't know what's up with him. And this is brother. What's the other guy named Harris? Come on, Jeff, introduce yourself.
Yes, I'm Jeffrey Harris.
Okay, and the other gentleman is White. That's my man there. He's in the background doing I'm not sure what. But we wanted to talk a little bit about this whole reparations thing. I think when it comes down to reparations specifically about slavery, I think when it comes to reparations that these folk just looking for some talking points during, upcoming election or whatever. But it's possible some things can happen. But I know a few people that I got some good Christian friends that's even people of African descent that feels a little differently. So we're going to discuss some things like why reparations. One of the things that would come up, Sister E, is first of all, y'all want money for somebody that wasn't even here. Y'all want us to pay money. We wasn't here. You wasn't here. Why should we deal with reparations anyway? Why should we even deal with that? Let's just all move on. It's a clean slate. You hearing me, Fred? They talking about it's a clean slate. You know what some of them good mega Christians. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that. I should have let that pill get my system good before I start. But Fred, they trying to say that they weren't here, we weren't here, we trying to get some money for nothing. Why don't we just let it go and everybody move on? I'm wondering what Fred would say to that. But come on, E, you or Sister Harris, or you or Sister E can start off whilst Fred over there typing. Because Fred got to get some answers to
that. Okay, well, I look at it like this. The wealth of this nation is built off of the back of my ancestors and your ancestors and Jeffrey's ancestors, Thomas and Garda's. And the whole point of reparation is to say that at the end of the Civil War, you promised a group of individuals reparation, but ultimately you didn't give them anything, but you did give the plantation owners reparation. So with that being said, where's my folks' money at the end of the day? Y'all still living off plantation money. All these houses and Wall Street and all that was built off the back of our people. That's the whole point of it. And not only through slavery, but you got redlining. You have all types of things that they've done to the Black community, and ultimately has caused the Black community to be in the state that we're in. Now we're in a pretty good, decent state, but hey, you still owe us.
Okay, so you're trying to say it's like if I got a construction company and I got 1 million people working for me for 200 years, building houses, building roads, and I'm getting all the money, all the free labor, and years later I let them people go, still because my grandchildren got that money later on from what I made off of it, it's not fair, and that's kind of one of the main reasons. I know that ain't Dr. Aaron. I ain't even talking to you. You still in Korea? I ain't even talking to him right now. Let me find out how to block Aaron, because I done hit him in the email. Great to peace, Sister Foster. All right, so that's how you looking at it? Because a lot of people are coming with that argument, man. Listen, we weren't there, they weren't there. Let's just move on right now. And people said, no, there's various companies that got money from slavery and still getting money right now, and they have a problem. To everyone, freezing a little bit. Should we talk slower? Come on, Harris, what do you think on that?
Well, I think a lot of us have looked at reparations as literally a handout, and that's not the case. Reparations is something that is, again, is owed to us, and it was once made constitutional. It was once also something that was supposed to have taken place many years ago, but it was reversed for whatever reason. We talked about the 40 acres and the mules, but 40 acres and a mule and different things of that nature back then that was going to be distributed out. We are the descendants of those enslaved that was entitled to that. And those those individuals, those slave owners, descendants are still here in the United States. Their businesses are still prospering here in the United States. So we're asking for what is owed to us, not something, a handout or something that should be given to us. No, we go to work every day. We earn our keep, but we know that the way the system is set up, it is not set up to where it's a fair and equal system. This system should be set up to where we all benefit, or at least on an equal playing field. Now, we can go back and forth on this on many areas, but the bottom line is we're the ones that are dealing with the consequences of slavery, even to this day. Now, some of us want to look at slavery as being over. What about the Jim Crow era? What is it just by coincidence that all these black men and women are being killed by the police? No, it's an unfair justice system that's implementing these things that go against us. So yeah, there are many ways that reparations can be administered, and through writing, through grants, through money, through education, through a whole lot of other ways. But these are the ways. But it's definitely, we are entitled to this, and we should get this.
Okay, I want to say something, Father G. Let me say something real quick. Listen to Focus, be humble. Black people receive reparations when the white man gave you a job application. You heard that one, Sister E? That was focused, humble. But I want to tell you what Punter said. You benefit from the system put in place, and we are disenfranchised by those systems. You have a debt to pay, period. What do you got to say about that, Sister E? Because there are people out here saying, well, I think Harris, Jeff said something about plantation. A lot of people, I know some good white folk from the church, but there's some black people even too said they get offended when y'all say Steph Curry is on the plantation. When y'all say Kobe and them is on the plantation and they ride in private jets, they leasing yachts and they got these fancy cars and houses. Is the NBA the plantation, or y'all going too far? Y'all want something for nothing and y'all running around here don't want to acknowledge the changes and the advancements and where the white man did bend a little bit. A lot, some would argue.
You asking me that question?
Yeah, I'm throwing this out there. I want y'all to see what Humble said.
I see what Humble said. I'm going back over this so I can make sure that Humble was being for real, or was he joking? Because
who Humble is. Okay, I'm sorry, go ahead.
At the end of the day, Black people in America are not slaves. They are descendants of kidnapped victims. Hold on. So ultimately, at the end of slavery, this country, let's talk about this country. Initially, when we came over here, this country was struggling. They needed help. They didn't know how to manage their own crops. They didn't know what to do to build this nation. They pulled our people over here for free labor. For how many years? Can somebody answer that one for me? It was free labor for what? Over 150 years or 250 years. Free labor. And the country was established based off of our ancestors. Now, Humble, if you don't want to check, I will gladly take yours.
Steph, I like Steph said, focused, humble. Have you lost your God-given mind? All right, there's some other folk that are speaking here that'll answer some of that stuff, but we'll have people that come in there and they got different opinions. It's okay if you ain't disrespectful. Come on out there with your opinion. And like I said, there are people, and it's a lot of them that consider themselves good Christians. Why should we give anything? I wasn't here. My ancestors wasn't here, and you weren't here either. It's unfair. And now the second thing that's coming in here, listen to this, Dr. Aaron. The second thing is, even if they gave up reparations, how would we distribute this money? Some folk came later on from different places. Africans came in here later on. Who is going to get it, and how are we going to, one, get the figure straight on who gets what, and two, being that so many people came in, who has to pay? Because they're going to try to get the taxpayers. What about all the Europeans that came in the 1900s after all of this stuff jumped off? What about the blacks that came from Africa and different places afterwards? Come on, I just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah, with the immigrants that came over here, they still benefited from it. They
got to pay too? Oh no, you want to? I know what I can speak for.
But it's going to be if they did that. If they did that, it would be a government. It would be a government thing that will possibly impact taxes. But do I see them doing that? That would be a far-fetched. I'm gonna just be honest. But I think it would be something that would be taxed and then ultimately will fall on the other Americans. But because you came over here, you pretty much benefited from the wealth of our ancestors. And in fact, you gained more than we did. So most people don't agree with me on that one. But
No, I never even heard it like that. Come on, Father G, this your people talking right here. Let me see what Punter got to say. These descendants of kidnapped victims are still suffering and the repercussions of their kidnapping. I agree with that. However you want to look at it, because a lot of people want to say they didn't steal us, they didn't, this and that, blacks over there sold us and all that's a whole nother thing. But I'm gonna come to that. Come on, Father G.
Well, there is no argument with what Brother Harris and Sister E said in regards to our deserving reparations. Sorry. We deserve reparations. I would say I'm more extreme. We deserve reparations like 100 times over. I'm not into just getting a check. I'm not into just getting free education. I'm not into just getting tax-free, just basically just not paying taxes. I think we need all of them. All of them. Any suggestion people come out with, that is what we deserve for reparations. Because the thing is that, and just like it was stated before, this country got rich off of our ancestors, and it's still getting rich. And the only thing that I will say about this is, and I know me and Sister E, we talked about this, is that they're not going to hand it to us. They're not going to hand it to us. If we go and ask them to give us reparations, they're not going to give it to us. It has to be a fight. It has to be a fight. Maybe it might entail bloodshed, maybe not. I don't know. But either way it goes, it has to be a fight. We are not going to get handed anything if we just ask. So people need to get that into their heads, whoever is fighting for reparations. And the thing too is that that's just for slavery. All right. I'm not even talking about some of the other stuff that happened after slavery: lynching, Jim Crow, redlining, police shooting unarmed black men. I'm not even calculating that, because at that point, that's 1,000 times more reparations that we need. But another thing that we also need to consider is, when we look at the slave trade just didn't involve the United States. The slave trade was an international crime. So we're talking about European countries. We're talking about Britain. We're talking about Spain. We're talking about the Dutch. They were involved as well. And there has to be some way where we can get them to pay as well for the descendants of slaves. And people who talk about Africans, who were involved in the slave trade, you name me one country in Africa right now that is benefiting from the slave trade. There were a few Africans who traded slaves, but there was not one country in Africa that is now benefiting from the slave trade. You name me one, and I'm saying you're wrong, because a lot of African countries are struggling.
Let me just say one thing. Do y'all think that Europe, is it safe to say Europe, most of those countries in Europe are what they are: Spain, Portugal, England, and all them other countries, do you think they are what they are today because of slavery? I'm gonna read a few things here. I'm gonna read it because Father G going in. I want to read a few things here. Where's the one about Steph said the way they distributed the money, the same way they distributed the money to the Japanese and to the Jews. Like other people got some stuff. Ernest said, man, you talking about a real race war? I guess Ernest is going with Father G. It's not going to be, they're not just going to give it up like that. Do you think racism and do you think a lot of this stuff still exists today? Or some of you black people need to put this stuff down, move on, and just act like everything is okay. And, and just understand that everything is okay. Because, white, you can say what you want. People out here do, a lot of people would say it, or they would say it in a slick way, especially when you get to my European brothers and sisters and you make them comfortable. They'll say, well, why don't you just, even Korean Christians, they got some other than my good Wesleyan folk over there, and they, they're from different countries. Basically, they'll say it in a nice way. Why don't you all just pull yourselves up by your bootstraps? My family and them came over here 29 years ago. We own business. We own business. And what do y'all say to that? Whilst I read these comments here.
Again, Father G mentioned, there were so many that benefited from us being enslaved over that period of time. There are so many that are still benefiting from us even to this day. I'll just give you one example: affirmative action. Now, affirmative action was something that was fought for in the 60s, and it was primarily focused on building up the communities that are impoverished, but mainly focused on African Americans, primarily and really only African Americans. That affirmative action trickled down to a point where it doesn't even affect or benefit African Americans. I'll give you another example. When it comes to Section 8, Section 8 was set aside and particularly for us. Now, we do not benefit from Section 8. Section 8 is more like Section Weight at this point in time, because every other nationality is benefiting from it other than us. So when you look at some of the things that should have benefited, where we should have benefited, we're not benefiting from these. It's always a Kamala Harris that'll come around who want to involve everyone in this formula. This formula isn't for everybody. It's particularly for us. Now, that is one of the issues that I have with us. We want to involve everyone else in our stuff, but when it comes to their benefits that they receive, they don't involve us in their stuff. Why do we do that? I am so against that. We have to find ways where we exclusively deal with us and ourselves when it comes to benefits that we are entitled to.
Oh, okay. Do me a favor, Sister E. I can't even see Aaron in there somewhere. Dr. Aaron in there somewhere. Send Aaron that invite, that link to the thing. But I wanted to see, not always learning, always the U.S. government will never give reparations. Reparations imply that if it's given by the government and accepted by blacks, then we are acknowledging that we have been repaired. Okay. Too Smooth 71, Native Americans even got reparations. That's true. Always Learning brought up another point about we the Native Americans, those other people that we were called Indians aren't original to the land and stuff like that. But who else? All right, go ahead whilst I'm reading this other stuff. White, you got something for this here?
I have one question. How am I gonna send Aaron the link? Tell Aaron to send me his
You got my, I know I do. Oh no, all right, go ahead, Aaron. What you said? All right. Come on, White. I'm sorry. Go ahead, White.
I'm just listening in. I don't have anything right now.
Okay, they owe us. Yes, they do. Not saying that we shouldn't fight for reparations. However, that is what the day of the Lord is about. He will, okay, all right, that's something else. That's something else. He will do it for his people. Job 3:32.
Brother,
that sweet lady. You heard what she just said? She just gave a scripture. She said that ain't nothing big to sweat right there. The Most High gonna come and he gonna straighten out all this mess.
Oh, he is. I believe that. I'm a firm believer. He gonna come and straighten it out. But we can't sit on our hands and say, okay, it has to be something. I look at it like this. There's a cause and effect. And I believe in that. Something has to happen in order for something to happen. So I think it needs to start with a conversation. I'm a firm believer that God's hand is going to move, but they got to give it to us. Offer it to us first. Now, when they reject it, it's almost like being unrepentant for their sins. God is giving them an opportunity to repent. Now, when they say no, now they've openly told God, we're not repenting for our sins. And guess what's going to happen? I think the hand of God is going to move.
Okay.
So God ain't going to have a hand in it. He got a hand in it right now.
Okay, all right. But Jeff, listen to this. I want y'all to hear what my man's saying right here. 504, I'm not sure if you got a new Facebook account because I think I see you inside my inbox thing and we were already friends. He said, I think it's wrong that other races always benefit off the Black community. Listen to this. I want y'all to talk about this here, Father G. Jeff, I want y'all to hear specifically what my man's saying. Always benefiting off the Black community. The Asian community makes a killing off of our community, but never support or spend money with us. You think we got a problem? We're going to keep spending that money. We keep spending money. We got to shut some of this stuff down. We're going to buy them chicken wings. I don't know what y'all doing down south, but them chicken wings is jumping up here. Them chicken wings is jumping. That hair spot is jumping up here in New York City.
Oh, yeah. That's them chicken wings are jumping in NYC, though.
Oh, but what them chicken wing, boy, hot sauce and soy sauce, hot sauce and ketchup on there. The Chinese folk making a killing. They moving out to their nice houses out there in Jersey with the nail. They got their nail stuff on Pickens Avenue, all in Harlem. They getting good money. Whose fault is that? Whose fault is that right there?
But the word of God says the foreigner.
God's hand is it.
But you know what? The word of God says the foreigner will be able to rise above us. Father G, that's your girl. Come on. Let me read some more of this. Come on, Mike or Jeff.
Brother Beran, let me say this. In regards to that, reparations is for the repairing of some wrong that was done. Now, with the wrong that was done, we have to look at the entire package. We still suffer from what we consider to be a PTSD. We have a psychological behavior that is not normal. You know, we deal with certain things. Look at some of the things that our women deal with alone when it comes to us. And the reason why they deal with things the way they deal with them. And we have some of our women have a tendency of being aggressive. Well, they're aggressive because of the things that we dealt with as men through the struggle of trying to survive in society from slavery up to today.
Too Smooth, you heard what he just said? You heard what my man just said, Too Smooth, or y'all running around here making excuses because y'all fighting and carrying on. Y'all, right. We got a lot of stuff going on. Is that post-traumatic stress disorder? Even though it was our great grandparents and all of that, are we mentally dealing with the effects of slavery? Too Smooth? Ernest, I need to hear what y'all got to say on that right there, because I hear that a lot. But some people got some beef. Come on.
Now, here's the result of that.
Let me hear.
We happen to ignore that quite often. Reparations tied directly into that because we need some psychological, some clinical repairs. So if you look at it, I grew up in the state of Texas. Mm-hmm. And the part that I grew up in, the problem that we have here is the restaurant isn't a good restaurant until the white folks come and sit and eat. I think that's a clinical behavior. When they sit down and eat with us, it's declared a good restaurant. But until then, most of us will walk past it, drive past it, ignore it, for whatever particular reason, but it's psychological. It's psychological. It's a behavior that we've taken up over the years. And some of these individuals been cooking out of their house for years. They just decided to get a restaurant and go ahead and do it the legal way. So this is just one example, and I can go on. You know, you want another one? I'll give you another one.
Because you and Punter, I'm reading what Punter up in here saying, post-traumatic slave disorder. Y'all like Dr. Joy. Y'all sound like some Dr. Joy people in here. What's Dr. Joy last name? Her government, what's her last name?
DeGrew.
Oh, thank you. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry, Jeff. Go ahead.
So here's another one. There's a gentleman that is known. He has a car wash where you go in and wash your own car. Now, it's a coin car wash. This particular gentleman is known as a racist. How I know? Because I had a firsthand experience. I said, you guys know that this gentleman is a racist and y'all still go there and wash your car? Oh, well, he's all right. No, he's not all right. I said, you don't cater to a person that has no intent on benefiting you or providing a service on an equal level, because we deal with circumstances where you know this guy that don't like you and you still want to patronize him. I find that to be an issue. So why aren't we dealing with these things the way we should be dealing with them? It's because of our psychological behavior that has been established over the years. So either I have an issue or they have an issue. And I know I don't have an issue, because you should not deal with a person that don't like you and you still come and patronize their business. I don't agree with that.
All right, sister.
I'm totally.
Okay, sister D, you heard what he just said. I want to ask them in this group right here, though, Sister D. You heard what Jeff just said. Some people would say, why don't we? I'm not sure if she want to speak to that, but why don't we get together like Rosa Parks back in the days? We just started giving each other a ride. We're not dealing with that bus. We're gonna boycott. Why don't we boycott Walmart? Why don't we boycott some of these places and certain things? What happened to that unity? It's not that important. When we see, like up here, the people in the nail salon want to disrespect the sisters, they want to go in there and tear that place up. But why don't we just shut all some of that stuff down? I know a few sisters, 2 sisters actually opened up nail salons after that whole thing jumped off, calling the cops in the beauty spot. What happened to that right there, Punter? What happened to that unity we used to have? Everybody's out for themselves? Come on, Sister D. Whilst Punter's texting in that somebody else texting in that answer. If Sister D's at the microphone, where is she? If African Americans, listen to David, if African Americans stop participating in the military of this country, they'll get direct answers to any question. Y'all heard that. Taylor just said that. Come on, who's up?
So
Sister D,
I'll speak because she's driving right now.
Okay.
But I think that a lot of times we feel like those are our only options because we don't see or explore all the businesses that are out there, or we don't want to patronize them. So if we see that Walmart's our only option, or it's super convenient for us, that we don't want to go out of our way, then a lot of times we'll neglect any other place. And a lot of times Walmart has cheaper prices. And so I think we have to get to a point where we say, okay, I may be paying a little bit more, maybe $1 or $2, for my products here. But this is $1 that'll stay in the community. So if we're willing to do more things like that, and be inconvenienced just a little bit, then I think we'll see more value out of businesses that are in our neighborhood and that are ours.
Yeah, definitely. I'm riding with Sweet Lady on this one. They disrespect us and our money because they can. We allow it. All right. What you said? Oh yeah, that us just giving them our money, that attitude gotta go. 504. I agree with you, man. Even in them nail salons, they gonna speak their language only when it's time to ask for that money. $23, $32 you owe. They're gonna just say what they say. Come on, Sister E. Whilst I'm reading the rest of these comments.
I'm reading too, but the thing is, we lost that power. We lost that power when they took the wealth out of the Black communities. There was a day when we had our own stores, we had our own businesses, so we had that power, and because we had that power, we could shut systems down. Then they called it during the civil rights movement that if these folks make a decision to do something, we got to hurry up and integrate because they can shut us down at any point. So when we integrated into their society, which I say, and I'm a proponent of, that segregation was the best thing for our community. When we integrated into their communities, we lost our dollar. We lost our power because our Black businesses no longer were patronized because we were going to other establishments. And we were building wealth in the white communities and took wealth away from the Black communities. That ultimately led to the fact that we can stop going to a Walmart, but where we're going to shop. And if this store does open, it's in the Black community, they're still patronizing the other companies. They have to pull from crafts. They have to pull from all these major companies to provide food for the stores. So if we shut down, it'll be small, but we don't have our own anymore.
I'm sorry, Father G, you agree with her? You agree with her on point to integration that was put into our heads, and that was a better option for us, basically. I'm freestyling right now. That was a better option for us. Do you think they played us with that integration and we end up thinking it was something and then end up playing ourselves like Sister E said, started getting less businesses. We wanted to be around them so bad. And that was kind of one of the worst things.
I don't think integration itself was worse. I don't think we integrated equally into the society, because the problem is that when we integrated, they forced us to give up our businesses. They forced us to give up, all the other stuff that we benefited off of. So the problem is that we integrated unequally into the society. So the problem is that how do we fix that? Do we segregate again, start over? And then if they want to go back to integration, we say, hey, we're not giving this up again. So I don't think integration itself was bad. I think the way we integrated was the bad part.
Okay. That's Steph. Steph said, I don't give none of those Asians and Indian people my money. The baby boomers messed us up. I'm gonna say something gonna get y'all mad right now, but Thomas White, we got to keep it 100. We got to keep it 100. A lot of people say certain things. Why don't we? And they expect that to come from a white man, or they're gonna think you cooning. I'm gonna put the cooning hat on for a second, being this because I know some people gonna catch your attitude. Why don't we focus on our own communities? Why don't we focus? Because there's a lot that we can do. Like the white boy said, he said, listen, why don't y'all clean up y'all own communities? Y'all always worry about one cop killed one person, and y'all got all that killing, all that gun swinging, all that drugs, all them liquor stores. Y'all got all that stuff going on. What do you say to that? 504 got to speak on that right there. Come on, Dr. Aaron, what do you got to say about that right there? Why don't we focus on our own communities? Apparently, we got money. Somebody's spending some of that chicken on Christmas. Somebody getting that hair done, them nails done. Somebody buying that Henny. Somebody buying them Jordans. And somebody buying that Louis and that Gucci. I'm seeing y'all out here. It all ain't bootleg, and even if it's bootleg, y'all getting it from the Asians. So the money still leave. What do we do with that question right there? Let's work on that for a minute. Maybe if we wasn't, maybe that can tie in with that other thing. We'll pull ourselves up by a bootstrap and we focus on our own community. Oh man, I wish the D wasn't driving on that one. Come on.
I will say this much: if we were to get reparation, my biggest thing was we would need to. I would say we need to talk to people like Dr. Claude Anderson and Dr. Boyce. Most people don't like them because they're a little unorthodox, but these guys understand what it means on wealth. And if we got that money, my biggest concern would be our communities would use it and burn it out fast. And Thomas, but would burn it fast.
Thomas know we on live, or he could read the class.
I don't know what Thomas is thinking. He's trying to make me laugh in the midst of me.
Oh, okay.
But I mean, we would burn out fast because we don't understand what it means. Wealth. It needs to be, that money would need to be put in place to build our communities. And being honest, I'm like Gardis, we would have to fight for that money. Once we would get that money after the fight, we would probably have to leave.
Y'all, some of y'all get that money. Listen to this. They ain't gonna like me right there. Grace and peace, G. I gotta get your email. I don't know what happened yesterday, fam. How you doing? They talking about, listen, half of y'all get that money, y'all finna die. Y'all heard Brandon. Half of you folk, they turn around and give y'all 100,000 right now, Dr. Aaron. They give y'all 100,000 too smooth. Y'all finna take that money and die. Either you're gonna die after you buy that Mozzie and run up into a tree sipping that Henny with them strippers in that car. Am I talking bad about my people? Do you need to be prepared and when you're dealing with money and we don't really have that? And I'm glad she brought up Dr. Claude Anderson and them. I'm on live right now. I'm glad you brought up Dr. Claude Anderson and them because I think he got an MBA in, or not Claude Anderson, Dr. Boyce got an MBA. We need to be trained on money. And why don't you church people teach on money more? Y'all show like collecting it. I'm sorry. Let me bring my medicine right now. Go ahead.
Yes, with church folk, a lot of us have, I don't know, for whatever reason, we decide to take the passive role. And we have a tendency of thinking it's not biblical for us to cause an uproar for something that belongs to us. We have a tendency of being passive when it comes to things that's unjust. So I'm here to tell you, church folk, it's biblical for us to stand up for our rights. It's definitely biblical to stand up for something that actually belong to us, and to stand up on the behalf of our ancestors who did the most that they could to put us in the position that we're in now. They didn't do this so we can lay down and go to sleep. They struggled quite a bit, and if we look around, we see some of our forefathers that has worked so hard to get us to where we are now, just so we can afford a pair of Nikes that belong to someone else. You know, these things that they work so hard for, they really want us to take the torch and go to the next level with it, because our future depends on it. And if we're not, willing to do these things as believers, then what's the purpose of you following Christ? Because that's what he was. He was a game changer. So if you were not a game changer walking in the faith, then who are you? What is your purpose of walking in the faith? So you can get to the base and say, I'm safe, I'm good, y'all better figure out how to get yours. No, it's not about that. It's about you getting yours and then showing others how to get theirs also. So that's what the Christian walk, or the faith walk, is all about. Where are you? Where are you with this? Can you step up to the plate and do what you're supposed to do?
Do you listen? I want to see what Aaron's saying. Punter said, listen, it wouldn't need to be a financial, psychological prepping year. People can't just get 100,000. They need to know what to do. And I'm just saying that, throwing a number out there. But would Jesus even want y'all running around here begging these folk for money? Is that because a lot of people argue that's not even Jesus? Why are y'all even bringing all of this stuff up? But I want to see what Dr. Aaron said. Money is merely representative of value structure. Change the value and the ideology of a group, and you'll transform its direction of money. Absolutely true. Absolutely true. Come on, anybody? I wish Sister D wasn't driving. She don't know she got that hands free. She can hit that button. Somebody email her, or somebody text her and show her how to hit that button and talk that talk. Come on, I'm gonna mute my microphone for a minute. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm trying to read these. I don't know. There's more people. It's just getting smaller here. African. What David said. Y'all hear me?
Yeah, we hear you. I'm looking at.
All right. Are you all right? David said African Americans are the most fighting Black people ever. Don't insult African Americans with that biblical pushover. What do you think? You just heard what he said, Father G. Come on. Because we all. Come on.
What was that?
Let me see.
What was the question on the floor?
Oh, no, you had your hand up from before, but I wanted to read what Taylor just said. African Americans are the most fighting Black people ever. Don't insult African Americans with that biblical pushover rhetoric.
And when he says that, what I'm thinking, and David, is this what you're saying? When they say pushover, using the passive side of the Bible to say, oh, you don't have to, it's not biblical, that's not godly to ask. We're not asking. That's the big problem. Everybody's saying we're asking for handouts. We're telling you what you owe us. Because if it wasn't owed to us, then guess what? We would have nothing to talk about. But the thing is, this is owed to our ancestors. Our ancestors are not alive to get what's owed. So guess what? It goes down to the generation that is here now. So we're not asking for handouts. So when people do that and say things like that from a biblical standpoint, they're not looking at the script correctly. This is what's owed to us. When you look at the structure of slavery based off the Bible, even in the Bible, at the end of slavery, you gave the slave restitution. You
Did you see that? I'm riding with y'all right there. David, you agree with Hall saying he said exactly, love. He agreed with you on that one. Punter, God is a God of justice. Do y'all think that the church should have been, if the church was pushing the reparations thing more, they'd have paid that money? That's how come some people, I gotta watch you church people, because I don't know if y'all down with these folk. Yeah, because some of these pastors, the way they move, and they like say, Father Gio, y'all will get up in here and y'all will sound radical. But a lot of these pastors out here, I don't know if they sounded radical like that, and they would be pushing the thing. Somebody said, Berea, why you took that awakening video down? Yeah, I'll put that on pause right now, because I had to put that on pause for a second. Y'all know the politics. I'm getting ready to wild out, and them people, they might send them hitters out. That's a whole nother story, though. I'm gonna put it back up. I just put it on private for a second. Come on, who's that? Somebody said exactly. Sister B said exactly, Sister E. Anybody else? Whilst I'm reading the comments. Okay, the floor is open.
Well, in response to that gentleman, Christ was radical. He was radical in many ways. He was radical in his healing. He was radical in, as a matter of fact, as a form of social justice. He turned the tables over, you know, and not only that, he chastised those that were misusing the other Hebrews that were coming from far distance to try to pay a homage as it was a tradition to do. And he didn't just stop at that. He pushed the reset button on the wrongdoing that they were doing doing at the temple, and went in there and blessed and made the temple holy again. That means he reset things properly in the way it's supposed to have been done. So what are we doing as an individual, as a collective, as an African American, to push that reset button? When are we going to get to that point where we try to make things right among ourselves in society, on a level of social justice and living according to the word as a believer? Now, I don't know about you, but I strongly suggest that you follow Christ. You don't have to follow me. I suggest you don't follow me, but follow Christ and his examples, and you'll see where he was the game changer. And if you don't want to look at that, you can go Old Testament if you want. You could go in Numbers and see how things were corrected. You can see how Nehemiah was paid a type of reparation to rebuild the wall. And the story goes on and on. So I don't know what the gentleman is referring back to, but the whole matter of paying reparations that we are entitled to is a justifiable cause. And we are, again, entitled. We're not asking, this is a demand. This is on the table for discussion. This is something that we are entitled to receive. And this is not a brand new issue. This issue has been in existence for a very long time. We just come back and revisit this issue again and again. So it's gonna come. It's just a matter of when.
A lot of people say that because some folk asking, what happened to that 40 acres in the mule? What's going on with that 40 acres in the mule? 504, you agreeing with them that this thing it's old. Some people's like, y'all demanding it, like y'all supposed to get it. And some people feel a certain type of way. Sister Leader, grace and peace. Who else? I wanted to see something else that was going on down here. Somebody said, oh, Taylor, I hope you're reading them comments. Why would you think somebody think Taylor brainwashed with that right there? A lot of people agreeing with Sister E. What else I see right here? All right, Punter said, listen, them pastors ain't messing with their 501c3 status. And there's more people there are people that believe, listen, if the pastor, if the church doing pretty good, the pastor doing pretty good, he ain't worried about nobody else. But back in the days when the pastor was broke like everybody else, they was fighting for a cause or whatever. Some people feel that. I don't want to throw it out there because I got plenty of pastor friends and they stay hitting my jack. Or they're saying little, because y'all don't know, people in church throw shade like everybody, a fivefold ministry, prophets, everybody. If they don't say it directly after I drop a video, they throwing some shade and something that they post. And I know what they doing. Shade is all up in the church. Come on, who else? Anybody else?
I think with these pastors, you hit the nail on the head. Now that's not beneficial to them because they got it. I mean, when you look at the mega churches, and then you look at the politics in the church, reparation is not the conversation that they want to have because it's not beneficial. Because they know once us Black folks, we get that money, we might not come into church for a little bit. So it's going to hit that tithing bucket. Now I'm just messing with y'all. But yet and still, it doesn't benefit them. As long as we in need and going through, guess what? We're going to pack the house out. But the minute things get well, guess what? The pastor's worried about them seats going to come up short.
Good sister E, look at what Aaron just posted. I want you to read what Aaron just posted. It's because, all right, I'm reading on Sweet Lady. It's because their father worked their fathers for 400 years with no pay. Our fathers isn't here to pay. My father isn't here to collect, but I'm here to collect it, and you're here to pay. Well, I guess that, you know, if they're a direct descendant, I guess, and these companies got money from it, I guess it's just what it is. Somebody got to pay it sometime. I don't really think they're going to want to do that, but that's a thing. You see what Dr. Aaron said?
I see what he's saying, but yet still that's that passive mindset to think of.
I said read it, please.
Oh, I'm trying to read it. He says, quick question, out. We forgive our debtors while at the same time fight to reconstruct the system from biblical law. I'm not clear on his question.
You know, the scriptures tell us to forgive our debtors. The white man did what the white man did. Let's forgive him for putting us for 400 years in slavery. Let's forgive him for that. But at the same time, the Bible, there is a biblical thing about reparations, like Luke 19. What do you think about that? What Zacchaeus said, if I've taken anything by any man, I'll restore it to him fourfold. So he's trying to connect the two, because you can make a biblical, I guess maybe Dr. Aaron saying, you can make a biblical, as maybe a certain type of Christians will make a biblical argument for. That was the past, just forgive us. Jesus said, forgive your neighbors. Let's all just move on. Out of the same Bible that we're both reading.
But we got to look at the context of what it meant by, say, forgive our debtors, because yet and still you have the same tone in the Bible where it talks about if a slave works for you to pay the debt off, once that is done and done away with and they paid the debt, ultimately after 7 years, you're supposed to give them their whatever restitution that's given to them so that they can get on their feet. Our people did not have the, they didn't give them the necessary means to get on their feet when they initially came out of slavery. Now, did our people do what they needed to do to be able to get what they need to get done? Yes, they did. But at the same time, you never paid them. And now we want to talk about forget our debtors. Let's go ahead and forget all our debtors. If you want us to forget our debtors, let's talk about student loans. Let's talk about taxes. Let's talk about, don't say forgive your debtors on one end and then require for me to pay my student loans on the other end.
No, I think Miss B done summed it up perfectly. From the same Bible, Miss B done summed it up. I do forgive, now pay up. Plain and simple.
Now, Brother Berean, this is what I want to add to one thing that we actually are forgetting in this conversation is none of us volunteered to be enslaved. And this is what we fail to forget. We were enslaved. We did not go into slavery as far as being in a type of biblical debt where we had to work off a particular debt. We were enslaved. We were kidnapped. We were taken from a part of land and culture and taken to another part of the world and made to do the things that we did for several years. Then when slavery was over with, we were made to live a certain lifestyle according to the Jim Crow laws, to live a certain way. This was not our way of life that we chose. This was given to us, which means that we were not entitled to this type of treatment. So when you have kidnapped individuals and enslaved them and held them in bondage all the way up to this day, because we still see it doing capital punishment and the mistreatment in our communities and the unbiasedness when it comes to a job applications, applying for jobs and positions in corporations and corporations entities. We see these things. We did not ask for any of this stuff to happen to us. This is what has been forced on us for many years. So it is actually a corporal punishment to us that we were not entitled to. So how do you justify a situation that we were put in unwillingly? Well, you can try to repair this thing through reparations. You can try to make things right with us that you have wronged us with. So this is the whole conversation. The conversation ain't It's not about if we are entitled to it or not. That goes beyond question because we are unwillingly here. Unwillingly here. We have no real identity. We have some Tongo, we have some Ghanaian, we have some Irish, we have some of all kind of things embedded in our DNA, embedded in our blood that we have no idea about. We don't have a real true culture to really lean on. We don't even have our own language like some of the other countries that we can actually visit to this day. So with all that being said, how do we make the wrong right? And excuse me for my freezing. I hope it clears up.
Oh, that's what I was just going to say. She said you were freezing.
Yeah.
You're talking about Jeff, right? You said Jeff is freezing.
Yeah.
Let me go back. That's Sister B. But listen to this, Father G. I want y'all here, Thomas White, I guess putting it in its context. Eric said that prayer wasn't talking about debt of slavery, not slavery. So we can't basically, that forgive us as we forgive our debtors. That wasn't talking about slavery. I'm going to go to Truth Seeker now. Truth Seeker said, woe to the pastors mixing Caesar system, aka the 501c3, with the kingdom of God. Of course, that's how radical people talking right there. But a lot of people, that whole 501c3, that's a whole nother thing right there. The school to prison pipeline. There's a lot going on. And even when you say places like, I think it was Angola, they were picking cotton in Angola before the slave trade. They just turned around and turned it into a plantation. But this is my thing right here. This is my thing, 504. This is my thing. Would you have done the same thing? Would y'all have done the same thing if y'all was in slavery? Who want to give up free labor? I wish I could get somebody to come out here and do some kitchens and bathrooms for me for free and I'd just be collecting the money. Who would want to give it up? So automatically they start thinking black codes, you hanging out in the corner, y'all gonna get locked up. They start thinking school to prison pipeline just to keep the thing going. That's Dr. Alexander in her book, the new Jim Crow. All of this stuff these people are just hustlers. When it comes to reparation, your heart gotta be right and you gotta want to make things right. Do y'all think these people want to make things right, or it's just too much money to put out? Why don't you think they want to do it? That's another question.
But again, it goes back to my original point. God is giving them an opportunity because I don't know if it was Father G or somebody said, when you're apologizing, a part of apologizing is restitution. You can't apologize and still keep the money because that's not a sincere apology. So God is giving them an opportunity to say, okay, if you are truly apologetic or you feel like you've done something wrong and you want to get things right, a part of getting things right is not just verbally saying it, but giving back to the person that you took from. So right now, God is giving them the opportunity to say, okay, forgive us for our sins, Father, for what we've done. And that's when God will heal the land. But if they reject it, then God's hand is I really believe God's hand is going to move the opposite direction because now you are just unrepentant of what you've done.
Okay, I'm going to try to read Johnson's post right there. But yeah, like I think that's true. That's biblical because even Zacchaeus, even the tax collector, he was willing to give back. He wanted to give back. So you can't just apologize and keep it. You got to apologize whilst you're giving back, whilst you're doing something else. Somebody else, who that Johnson said, it's amazing how conservative values can have ministries set up to fight sex trafficking in the name of God, but then condemn social justices, which goes against the Imago Dei in the same breath. Boy, that's something right there, Johnson. You ain't lying about that. That's how come I said it's some funny folk with some funny agendas. There's pastors out here. There's some funny ministries set up out here. And they're pushing and propagating certain things that they want to, and other stuff they just don't even want to discuss it. Oh, well, that's just our vision. This is just, we believe in fighting for this, and the other thing just doesn't make any, the other thing just isn't anything big. Anybody else? What he said on 504 said, man, I don't think they want to make it right, but we've been rebuilding Iraq for over 15 years. You ain't lying about that. And then when we go in there and we claim we're doing good, what are we really in there for? To get the dope? To get the oil? I could have sworn when they said it was weapons of mass destruction, they ran in there. I knew the price of oil was going to go, the price of gas was going to go down to 99 cents. Man, that thing shot all the way up. Come on, White, anybody else? I'm trying to read some. We got some good stuff up in here. I want to look at some more of this stuff. Well, Joseph, what Megan saying? That's God's hardening their heart. God's is, oh, maybe for a greater judgment pouring it out. Go ahead.
That's Pharaoh. God had to harden Pharaoh's heart for God to move. So that's all that's being done, is their hearts are being hardened. Once their hearts are hardened, the things, just think about all the things that's going on right now, all these earthquakes. And for the past week, it's been earthquake, hurricane, tornado, earthquake. And I'm like, what is this? And people don't realize this is the hand of God. Now, what they're trying to do is make it seem like it's science. But people of God know this is the hand of God. He's not pleased with what's been done over here. And the thing, it's only going to get worse if they keep being unrepentant. And it goes back into the things that we see in Revelation. They have unrepentant hearts. So God is going to have to move. He's going to have to move because their hearts are hardened.
Repentance for America is reparations. That's Johnson right there. But I want to see what Leader said, Leader for Christ. No, unfortunately, they not feeling any type of way about slavery in the past or the millions that face slavery as we speak. A lot of people speak about that too. They say, listen, you can say what you want. Some Islamic countries, they got slavery going on. They got every type of thing going on, and a lot of people. Do y'all think the church in general ain't even speaking up to so much stuff, even believers that's being killed abroad, and the American church just got our heads in the sand? We just somewhere else with it. We just thinking about, just getting a car, getting a home, just paying our taxes and just living our life, and we ain't worried about the woes of other people.
I believe that from my past experience, there are individuals that have been fighting for reparations for a long time. I know personally a couple that began their fight in the 90s, and they've made a lot of progress in the fight. And they are church people, and well-known church people, and they've had some success in that fight. So it's the entire church is not asleep. There are isolated individuals that are fighting for justice. I'm church folk. I'm fighting. It's just not enough of us. And that's what this conversation is about. We need more church folk involved, and I'm just using church folk for just the overhead covering on this topic. We need more church folk involved in this process of demanding reparations. And I believe that it'll come, whether those listeners are out here are not getting involved, but it'll come. It's just a due process.
I do have one thing to say, because Stephanie said something.
I'm sorry, that was Charles up in there, unify or die. That was Steph. Somebody else said something that I wanted to bring out real. That was let me see. There's another one. I'm going back. Go ahead, Sister E. I'm going back. I want to find there's a specific comment I want to show y'all in here.
Stephanie said that our people sold us. And if you look at history, our people didn't necessarily sell us. They were at war. And I had a couple of friends, especially some friends from Ghana and Nigeria. They have a whole nother side of the story. Understand that when they tell us, wait a minute, somebody muted my mic. Oh, I thought my mic was muted. But when people tell us that, we got to ask the African what really happened, because we're still living off of his story. They told us, they sold us. We need to really dig and find out what really happened before we say that, because ultimately the Africans got a hit also. They ended up getting their countries colonized. They were in a form of slavery. They lost their names. They lost their names as well, and were given colonized names. So Black people as a whole, and I agree with Gardis on this, Black people as a whole have been impacted by slavery across the board. I mean, when you look at the Spaniards and the Portuguese, they made money off of slavery. They were, I don't want to say they originally started it, but they were the beginning or the forefathers of the transatlantic slave trade, because they were the ones that were initially getting some of the slaves. And then you have different people over in France and different countries were involved when it comes to slavery. But we cannot just say our people sold us. We got to find out what the true story is behind it, because when you talk to the African, some of them say that their ancestors did not know we were coming over here and it was going to be child slavery. country. They thought we were coming over here and learning trades, and we're going to be able to learn things and come back to that country and be able to teach them. So we got to ask them what the true story is, because we know that the media is going to play it and spin it to make it seem like it's not them. History is going to spin it like it wasn't them. So before we say that they did it, we need to find out what the true story is.
Father G, come get your girl trying to sound like a conspiracy theorist right now. Listen to Claude. This Claude Anderson right here. No, this ain't done. I'm just messing with y'all. This Steph right here. Listen what Steph said. Y'all don't understand. This is not about hate. It's about economics. Racism isn't about hate. It's about economics. Would y'all do the same thing if you were in the feet of the shoes of the white man? Would y'all do the same? You know, y'all black people like y'all money. Like to get y'all money up. Anybody would do it. Would the Arab do it? The Chinese do it if they had the opportunity? I didn't want to talk about the China and Africa, Chinese and Africa, but would they do it too? What do you think about with that statement there? It's not about hate. It's about economics. Racism isn't hate. It's economics. It's not like they hate darker people. Because of course, my next question was going to be, why do you think they're doing this? Why do you think this is happening? You think it's just a monetary thing?
I don't think it's just monetary, but I do agree that racism isn't just about hate. You know, there's a lot of friendly racists out there. You know, they'll smile in your face, be polite, be respectful, but you know, in the end, they'll make sure that you're not getting as much money as them. You're not living in the same neighborhood as them. That is also considered racist, even though they may not hate you. There are very friendly racists out there. And they're the more dangerous ones because they tend to say, well, you know, I'm good to black people, but they never claim that they're racist. So I agree with that. Racism isn't just about hate.
Okay, listen, Aaron, I'm talking to Aaron right now. I'm going to tell y'all who I'm talking. I'm talking to Focused. I'm talking to Aaron. I'm talking to 501. I'm talking to Leader. Kid, somebody said racism has to do with power. You can't be a racist if you ain't got no power. I know what these folk up in this room believe. I'm talking about y'all. Leader, what do you think about that statement? Back in my days, you could be a racist. My man, and them back in the day, back in the 80s, you could be a racist and not have no money, just got a gun and be like, them blue-eyed folk gonna get some of these shots right here. But now they're telling me you gotta have power. Racism in and of itself it has to do more with power and being able to let someone redline, maybe not move in this neighborhood, charge them more or interest loan, not rent to them, stuff like that. Talk to me. I want to see what y'all got to say in here about that. But I know Father G, I think he may be with some of the rest of us on that.
Well, the racism is a system. Racism is a system that deals with power, just like capitalism. It deals with power. So basically, in a capitalist society, the more money you have, or the more resources you have, the more power you have, and it gives you a better opportunity to oppress those who don't have as much. So when you take a system of racism, you have white people and you have non-white people, in particularly non-white black people, and white people have the power to oppress, non-white black people. So when you deal with racism, you do deal with power, because racism is a system. It is not just the belief. It is not just the prejudice. It is a power system.
All right, listen to this. Who was that just saying? Somebody was just, I want to go back. I want to make sure I read something. But basically, somebody was saying, no, just church from. Somebody said, I'm Kojic. Who's that right there? That's Joseph the Womack. I'm Kojic, and I started in 1897, the Kojic organization, yes, Bishop Mason and them, 1897, and we don't have our own banks. We just going to put our money back into the bank. With that statement that Womack just made right there, I want to ask y'all a question. Y'all think the church could shut this down even without reparations? The church gets so much money weekly, every Sunday, that churches across America, blacks, churches, multiracial churches, even white churches, if they want to join and help us out, because we all one body, they say it's all one God, and they love us all. Do you think they can help shut this down, and we wouldn't even be sweating people for reparations, because we'll be on a whole nother level if the church was doing more? Why y'all church folk ain't got more banks?
You know what?
Oh yeah, the church can definitely shut this down, and particularly, because I'm part of the Catholic Church. Now I'm gonna get in trouble for this,
I'm going to get in trouble for this because I know this is going to be a public video, but I'm
It's
getting in
already
trouble for this.
public. It's already
The Catholic
public.
Church is very implicit in the slave trade, and they need to be held accountable for that as well. So when you're talking about religious organizations, you definitely got to look to the Catholic Church and say, hey, we were responsible as well.
All right, Dr. Aaron, I like that. That's my man. You see why certain people, when I be telling y'all I got Israelites, I got Catholics rocking with us, that ain't no regular Catholic behavior you just heard right there. He broke down and he said it, but I don't want to draw too much attention to him because we live and the Jesuits are listening. Who else? Come on, Harris, you wanted to say something?
Yes, I agree with Father G. I agree with Sister E. If the church was involved in this movement, 100% involved, it would be a very similar situation where in the 60s where the boycott took place. There was so much money lost in that process that it turned the United States of America upside down to a point where they had to come to an understanding and agreement. There was a lot of sacrifices made on both sides, but there was a victory in this process. And I do believe that if the church really commit themselves as a whole, that it wouldn't even be, we wouldn't have this type of, we wouldn't have this discussion. It would be more like, what are we going to do to repair ourselves? How do we get our mind fixed on being a great nation? You know, and coming to an understanding with our leaders on what is going to be in our best interest to build, repair, and move forward as a nation, not so much as a people, but as a nation. Yes, the church. We need the church. I don't think we can really even do it without the church as it being a correction.
That's a good point. Now y'all got my man acting ignorant. I'm finna put 504 out of here. He said, hell yeah, the church has more money and power as a whole. Listen, do you now when people comes and start hitting me in the email, this is why I ask y'all, you heard what he said, you heard what 504 said, you heard what Sister E said. That's how come when people come and be like, yo, I'm telling you, the church is in place to hold us back. They want to pacify the people. Can you see why some young folk would hit me in the email and be like, yo, the church is down with them. There's no way because they could change this whole thing for us. Do y'all see why? I'd be like, yo, certain stuff, they'd be like, oh, why'd you rebuke that brother for saying, why? I can see why some people are saying what they saying. Come on, who else? White, you got some more this time, White? I want to read some more. I want to read some more of Freedman Bank 2019. That was Steph. I want to read some more of this stuff right here. No more apologizing. Let me see. The first church here in the world system is connected. The first church here and the world system. That's how come some people feel the church is part of the system.
Oh, yeah.
You throw the 501 on top of that. Go ahead, come on, you don't cut me off, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry, I meant to say, oh yeah, and I accidentally hit the wrong, but oh yeah, the system is connected. Oh, it's intertwined. That's why it's hard for the church to stand up. And I think it just really happened in the Black church, because at the back in the day, the Black church had that flexibility. Back during the civil rights period, the Black church didn't hold back at all. But now we've become integrated to this world system, and being the church is integrated into this world system, that now they can't. It's like they can't. They're just asked. I mean, they would pretty much lose everything. And we got to think about it and be real about these politics. These major pastors, if they stood up and started trying to shut these systems down, they don't have the backbones of the people back in the 60s. They ain't willing to give up their jets and their house. They got too comfortable. But
I agree with that. You got to read what Sister D do me a favor, read what Sister D put down in that comment. Some people take it back to when the church was underground, when the church was being persecuted, was okay. Now, is this a good place right here? Listen to this truth seeker. Is this a good place right here to bring up Constantine? Because Constantine let the church come from being underground. 313, the Edict of Milan. He said, we ain't going to persecute Christians no more. Once them Christians came out from not being persecuted and were able to own houses and weren't getting thrown in jail, for some reason it seemed like Christianity flipped. But then when I bring up certain things and I say, listen, you can see what you want, church and politics, and there's politics in the church, people looking at me like I'm crazy, but they love when I'm banging on Sinetta and calling SETI a devil. Oh, they love that when I'm shooting down Ray Hagan. They love that, but they don't like talking about other stuff that's close to them that's kind of touching them. Come on, Abbas. I see you done what you call it. He said, well, wait, hold on before you go. I can see the screen. He typing big. He hollering right now. 504 said, brother, I served as a teacher, pastor in the church once. I got behind the scenes and seen the business side of some churches. I stepped down. I got to say amen. We got to speak to that. That's talking about saying a lot of people can't even know what's going on in the office. Some people tell me, Berea, don't be telling our business. Don't be telling what we do. Don't be saying, and people catch your attitude. A lot of people, they can't deal with behind the scenes, because behind the scenes is beef. Behind the scenes is beef. Come on, Harris, you wanna what you call it before I read what Watts is saying?
Yes, that gentleman is accurate in what he's saying. Behind the scene is it's a real crazy situation. But it depends on the sanctuary in which you worship. It depends on your spiritual leader that's in charge of that particular sanctuary. There are many things that happen behind doors, especially when it comes to money, especially when it comes to personalities. You may think a person has a great personality until you get them behind closed doors, or until you involve money. You will see a whole different type of pastor in that process. So yeah, it can turn you away from church, or you can see church entirely different. When we're talking about church administration, this is what we're talking about. So how you deal with that really determines your future, because you can look at it in a way where you'll mold yourself into that. You can look at it to where you say, well, if or when I leave this place, I will never involve myself with this type of activity in the way they have. I will quickly make an adjustment to that. So yeah, I agree with that gentleman.
Now listen to this. I'm gonna go to two things right now, but that's Chad. Chad said, let us stop talking about it and do something. The time is now. I agree with that. A lot of times there's people like us that we're talking, people are involved in different churches and different organizations, and they're doing things, and we have conversations to try to stir other people, to try to bring other people out. It's not just we're pointing fingers, but we have to start addressing certain things. And by throwing questions out here, by having dialogue like this, we can wake people up. Now, I want to ask one question. Should you keep going to a church because they got good music and they prophesy over you, a husband coming to you in there 17 years, laying hands on you, having revival, giving to this pastor, giving to that pastor? And should we support churches that ain't doing nothing in the community? Or are we putting too much on the church? They need to focus on Jesus and heaven and leave them alone about just community work. How much is community work? And it's only Black people, because the white church ain't got to put work in like this, because white people are basically okay. Should we stop supporting churches all up and down the hood? Not saying everyone in the hood's getting money, but should we try to kind of force the hand of the church to do more in the community? Let's just put it that way. That's a nice way. What do y'all think about that? Somebody said
Yes.
absolutely not.
In my view, the spiritual leader is the prime suspect of some of these things that take place in the community. Because you have to hold him accountable for those things. If you have a son that's out there, that's on the street corner, doing whatever he's doing, relationship is really important in building in that particular community. Why not go out and create relationships? You may not be able to sway that person to do left or right, but at least build a level of respect in the community to where they know the church is a place of refuge. It's a place of help. It's a place of conversion to try to do something different that benefits the community. So we are so focused on condemning individuals that are contrary to the way we practice and worship, to where we actually forget that we were once them. And we're so wrong for that judgmental part of us. So I believe that we need to just continue to, I think we need to hold the pastor and then the leaders responsible for the improvement of our communities.
No, I'm sorry. That's SEMA in there, if I'm saying that correctly. I think we sometimes get the false church confused with the true church, that Christ said the gates of hell would not prevail against. You think anybody that is the true church is really putting in work and some of these businesses? Because you got churches that just open for business because they know people like spirituality, people like entertainment. That you think that could be it? Though sometimes we got maybe the false churches or churches that just are into themselves. If the leader's into himself, some people would argue. Now, like I said, there are some ministries, some churches are struggling just to keep the lights on.
I'm like you. The smaller churches, they're struggling. They're trying to maintain. Let's look at these mega churches. I saw an article that they said that the mega church has more money coming in, I think, than most banks. They got so many they have these mega churches, these black mega churches have so much money, they could shut it down.
R.A. Vernon, I think that he said that was a dissertation or something. He got a book, Size Matters. He said a big church can do more. They buying houses, flipping houses, buying cars for members, single mothers. They helping people out, construction company, training guys in carpentry, helping them flipping crib, and it's all connected. And he said the only reason he can do that is because of the size of the ministry. That's the only reason that he can do that. So yeah, and you know, we don't have a lot of mega churches, but the good big handful that we do have, they are in some, because I went over there about, where y'all over there, not to shoot y'all down, but boy, that College Park, that Creflo Church over there, boy, y'all looking like they got, it's looking a little rough over there. And there's a few big churches and some really big, nice churches in some neighborhoods that could use some help. All right, anybody else before we move on? I'm not sure where I am. Do me a favor too, if y'all coming through, subscribe, like, subscribe, do whatever y'all supposed to do. I don't know how this thing goes. Father G, you got anything in closing?
Yeah, just to add on to what Sister E said about the mega churches, they got so much money and more banks that they're forming their own banks. Most of these mega churches have credit unions, so it's like you know, the money that's going to these churches, and then, you know, just like you said, most of these mega churches are in neighborhoods where they're run down, and I will also say some of these mega churches are complicit in the gentrification process in some of these cities. There's a particular church in my city in Chicago I will not name, but most people know that they are implicit in the gentrification process because they're buying up property and selling them to folks that don't look like them in the congregation. So yeah, I just want to add that on.
Is gentrification a problem? That Jesuit want to bring it up? Is gentrification a problem? I hear a lot of y'all complain, but sometimes y'all get the hood, y'all been in the hood, up there in Harlem, they been in the hood, them brownstones going for $1 million, $2 million. Y'all been had the hood for 50 years, ain't do nothing with it. Some people say, well, we couldn't do nothing. We ain't had no money. We let some of the, homes go out of our hands. Up here in New York, some Jews coming through. They coming through with a bag full of money with bodyguards. Listen, you sell this property right now. We'll give you $500,000 right now. Doing crazy stuff, saying crazy stuff. We got this money for you right now. Is gentrification a bad thing? Is that really pushing people out?
Oh, yes.
Or can it help people challenge and come up, step their game up?
When you talk about the deals that's being cut in gentrification, these houses ain't being sold for $50,000 and $500,000. These houses are being sold quietly for like $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, $8,000, $10,000. They getting it for the low. And then what happens is when they get it for the low, the houses just sit there until the neighborhood totally decays. Then once it decays, that's when they go in. So they ain't getting these houses for a big price. They getting them cheap. They getting them through the foreclosure sales that they have. That's why I told my mom, we live in a neighborhood, a Black neighborhood, and the neighborhood is thriving, but the community is older people. And what's happening is the kids are selling the houses. I'm not selling my mama's house. And that's what I said, I'm going to sit here. And they make it so hard for the Black people that make the decision to stay there. Well, you got to do this to your house. You got to do that. They're not financially able. So if you ain't going to give it, they're going to take it. Unless you got sense enough in how to manage your money and be able to say, you know what, I'm going to buy this and I'm going to sit tight and do what needs to be done. But yeah, they're getting these houses for the low.
But there's a Jewish gentleman up here. He said that's the long-term investment for people that have money. They'll buy some cheaper homes and they know that they can't do nothing with it for 20 years until the neighborhood totally runs down. There's people after they see the neighborhood picking up, that they're going in there and buying homes because they know what the prices are going to be. But you have two sets. So you do have people that'll buy it knowing they're not going to do anything with the home for another 15 to 20 years, and they'll just leave it like that. They'll board it up or whatever. That's a different set. I wanted to bring that out. Anybody else before that's why you spend money as a group and not as an individual. Somebody saying something, that's okay. Why isn't the Democratic with whom most people believe in for black? Yeah, we've been Democratic for a long time, pushing for reparations in the forefront. And if they do, it's just to get a vote. Yeah, that's true. That's true too. Are they just bringing this whole thing up about that? One thing I can say also, it seems like there's more and more people of African descent just redo. Are we Democrats just to be Democrats? I think there's a lot of, at least I know in churches, a few people, they're like, man, listen, I ain't no Democrat. I don't need to be no Democrat. Democratic Party ain't doing nothing for us. We just riding Democratic just because that's what we've been doing. Thank you, White, for that super chat, man. I definitely appreciate that. Who else we can, what you call it in here? Did I freeze up, Sister E? You frozen? Why everybody look froze?
I'm not froze.
I'm not froze. I'm just listening to you. I'm quiet. That's rare, isn't it?
Oh man, she quiet. We got to shut it down now. She done ran out of stuff to say. All right, let me see. Do y'all feel the true church that really is down for God's glory is all about money and not the souls of men in the gospel? The true church, money is, you need money. You can't make it without money. People get mad at the pastor sometimes, but you can't make it without money. Some people know Berean needs some money. Berean will get on Messenger, just hit 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10. Listen, boy, it's rough right now, whatever. A lot of times people try to act like with church, you don't need no money whatsoever, but money is important. We need money to live, but the problem is how good and how much money. This is why some people say church got boards. If the church is bringing in 20,000 every Sunday, them old timers, they didn't believe in wasting money. Some of the deacons would have Cadillacs and this and that, but they didn't believe in going to do too much. They said, listen, we need this money in the bank. We got to put the money in the bank. And then when the older members were in there, new members coming, they come to find out, they're like, man, we can't believe it. This church got $425,000 in the bank. Them old folk never spent the money. But we got some younger pastors now, and they getting that money together, and they raising them offerings, and I can't lie, it's not like they not paying the evangelists. Evangelists coming to preach, they get $800, $1,000, $1,200, $2,500 to touch that mic, make the people dance, and offering 10, 15, 40 bands. Give him his $3,500, give him his $2,000, get that bishop his money, let him go. And they're going to do some things. So they could spend $50,000 on a sound system. They could buy 2, 3 vans straight cash. They could flip the pastor's office, $10,000, $12,000, $15,000 desks. Some people say, well, that's too much. When the pastor started off, he didn't need that. But then you got to look at the time. The pastor been preached 30 years. For the first 10 years, he didn't have nothing but a regular desk from Kmart. But now times change. So, it's how and who spend the money, and, do you have a heart for the people? So some people, that's why they feel it's real touchy. Other people say, man, we're not even discussing money whatsoever when it comes down to it with the church and the church people. That's how come when churches have a board meeting, most of them don't. They'll have y'all as worshipers. Y'all come, y'all sing, y'all clap. Y'all are worshipers, y'all not members. But if you down with certain churches and them churches got you as a member by law, you got to know the church brought in $800,000 last year. This is what we paid the pastor. We bought a Sunday school van. We did A, B, C, and D. But most churches are switching over and people are just worshipers. So if you're a worshiper and you're not a member, we don't never have to have no board meeting. Come and drop the monies at the apostles' feet. This is Bible. Drop the money at the apostles' feet and y'all just trust God. We're going to do right with the money. But now the problem comes in, if I get money and y'all tell me I'm going to Africa with the money, I tell y'all I'm going to Africa with the money, and I'm collecting money like the building fund scam we used to do back in the days. If I'm collecting money to go to Africa, then my homegirl, Sister E, be like, oh man, I'm riding your car, you hit them potholes. Man, you know what I'm gonna do? Give me that mic Sunday. And she turn around up there Sunday and be like, we gotta buy Brother Brian a new Benz. And then y'all turn around and take that same money that we already done told the folk that we was going to Africa with, or we was going to do some other stuff with. That's the gray area. You collected the money underneath one thing and did another thing. And we often flip and do that. But we could just say, the Spirit, Sister E, she's an elder in the church. The Spirit led her to do that. The IRS don't like that right there. They say that's kind of, a gray. It's not robbing the people, but it's a little It's a little shaky right there. All right, anybody else? Let me see. Voting is useless without an economic system backing it with bottom-up style leader. Yeah, of course. Please, when it comes down to regular voting, some people don't want to vote because they feel that's all just a whole scam right there. Okay, Father G, anything in closing? I just want to make sure I hit everything. Hopefully y'all hit the subscribe button and all of that stuff. Thank you for the super chat. Thank you for the prayers. And Father G, you want to close it out?
Close out in prayer.
Yes, sir, please.
Okay. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for bringing us together to discuss very important topics within our community, because we know that you care about us and you care about our issues. So we, as a community, try to understand your word, try to understand your mission, so we can solve these issues that we have in our community. Help us to spread your message and also to solve a lot of our social issues, if not all of our social issues, so we can be better people for us and our children. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Amen. I appreciate everybody. I'm glad this other stuff worked out. As it gets smoother, I think I'm gonna get off and I'm gonna look at this stuff. But as it gets smoother, we're gonna start coming on every night, every other night with some other things. And with that, I am out. Thank y'all for coming on and sharing and doing all this other stuff. Oh, thank you for the super chat. Thank you so much. Let me see if I can click on here. Thank you, Punter. Appreciate you. God bless you. We really appreciate it. And like I said, we'll be back on in. I don't know if I'm coming back on later on, but I sure got some other stuff that we're gonna talk about, some very interesting stuff, because I was talking on white supremacy, and I said white supremacy ain't gonna fly under that banner, and I got some slick. I got y'all, boy. I'm gonna tell y'all, I got some slick stuff from some of you church folk, some slick stuff. So we're gonna talk about that white supremacy and should blacks just pull out of the church. Should black people pull out of the church? Because we know, because the brother said, we know that white supremacy and Christianity has been moving hand in hand. That's why there's the mass exodus. Y'all, that's something to talk about. I don't know. Y'all might see me getting back on at 9 o'clock. I got to check those other emails. Them pastor people done got me mad, hitting me, talking about some of that stuff. And like I said, some of these people are pastors' kids also. What is White saying? You got anything to in closing, White, before we get off? I can't see. You said I started a new video?
No, I'm good.
Oh, okay. I'm not dealing with him.
He cracking jokes.
All right, God bless y'all. I'm getting out of there. I ain't talking to White.
Now we are working on one of our next conversations in regards to part 2 of church hurt.
And what's the other one that was on the list? Just let them know. What was the other one? We had 2 or 3 things we didn't touch yet.
Well, part 2 of church hurt. What was the other, Sister E, that we mentioned?
I know one was the reparations.
Yes.
Other was church hurt, and then I think we're gonna delve into some of the stuff that you were talking about last night when we talk about the spiritual side of it, and is everybody bad? All Comedics bad, all Israelites bad, all church people bad. And we were gonna kind of talk through that because give people an idea that everything ain't bad.
Exactly. I was supposed to try to call Pastor, get one of the pastors on, but boy, this thing here, White, my phone is not coming on at all. I'm gonna try to hit you in the I could call you a messenger on the laptop, right? So we got some good stuff. Basically, y'all, we got some good stuff coming up. We dealing with the teachings. I'm gonna start pulling up these slides and that other stuff, but we're gonna deal with a bunch of stuff. We really appreciate y'all coming on and y'all sharing certain things. We definitely want that. Oh, Greg, thank you. We appreciate you, Brother Beach Production. We appreciate that. We want to make sure that we share with y'all what we have coming up, and we got some good slides. We got some good slides and some good teachings, and we want y'all to participate. That's why we want this platform to be a little different, because in all actuality, a lot of people believe in God, love the Lord in church and everything, but they can't really discuss. And for some reason, I feel there's a lot of preachers, there's a lot of people out here that feel like just the people in the pew, they like we crazy. Just because you ain't in the pulpit, you crazy, and half of the crazy people is the ones in the. Oh, let me stop this video right here. But I'm just saying though. All right, I appreciate everybody, and have a good evening.